Good evening, everyone. The time is now 7 o'clock. I will call the regular meeting of the Millcreek Township Board of Supervisors to order. Please stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next, we will take public comment. Excuse me, let me read this disclaimer first. The meeting is being televised online on the Millcreek Township Office of Emergency Management Facebook page. Public will be able to participate in the public comment portions of the meeting by calling 833-1111, extension 380. This meeting is also being recorded by WQLN and is broadcast on Spectrum Channel 1024 and YouTube.com with closed captioning available. Now we'll take public comment on agenda items other than development or rezoning applications. If there's anyone in the audience who would like to speak on agenda items other than development or rezoning, may do so now, and we'll also invite people to call in for that comment as well. Okay, hearing no comments, we'll move on to approval of the minutes from our July 14th, 2020 regular meeting.
I'll make a motion, we approve.
Thank you, sir. Do I hear a second on that?
I'll second.
Mr. Owlett?
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
I vote yes as well. Next, approval of the bills. We have some bills to pay.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the bills.
And I'll second.
Mr. Owlett, your vote?
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
And I also vote yes. Second quarter financial presentation, Treasurer Mark Zaszewski.
Thank you. In keeping with the standard that we've set here of doing quarterly financial reviews, we're going to do the second quarter for 2020. This is our first opportunity to see any potential impacts from the COVID-19 crisis on our financial operations. And we are beginning to see some impacts. When we look at our year-to-date revenue actual to budget, our real estate taxes are about $160,000 below budget. Now, part of that may be due, and that's going to be due in part to the building not being accessible. I'm sure part of it is also due to people not working, not having the money necessarily to pay the real estate taxes. So that is
Mr. Zaszewski, just a quick question for you. I know there was also the action that we pushed back the deadline for property taxes. Do we know if that's an impact? I'm not sure how long it takes for the treasurer.
It'll have an impact in as much as from July 1st to the end of the year would have had a 10% penalty.
Mm-hmm.
So that revenue would be lost for anything that was paid during that time frame. That's $60,000 to $75,000, depending on what our normal collections would be.
Okay.
And this is just looking at where we are actually year to date versus applying that same kind of percentage to the total year.
Okay.
So we're running a little bit behind. I think we're going to still come close at the end of the year, but I still think we're going to end up behind, one, because of the lack of penalty, and two, because there's just going to be fewer people having paid when we get to the end of the year. The one thing about property taxes is, for the most part, they're never really lost. They're delayed, except for possible mobile homes, because the properties will go to the assessor's office. They will try to collect them as delinquent taxes, and then if they're unsuccessful, it goes to tax sale. So ultimately, when it's a real property, we will get paid. It just may take longer to do so. And the penalties are only waived through the end of the year. So therefore, if somebody doesn't pay, then they'll have to pay the additional penalties dealing with delinquent taxes. Our income taxes are trailing budget about $250,000. I think part of that is due to the moving the collection filing date to July 15th. At this point last year, all the returns from the end of the year would have been collected and forwarded to us. Those monies will be forwarded to us next month. So there's a little bit of a timing difference there. I think we're definitely going to end up below where we were last year for income taxes, but I don't think we'll necessarily fall below budget, because we ended up with about $8.1 million in earned income tax last year, and the budget's 7.35. So there's a significant difference between those two numbers. So if we fall short of the 8.1, I'm pretty confident we're going to still meet the 7.3. In terms of other taxes, the real estate transfer tax is about $86,000 behind budget. That makes sense. There was a couple months there where everybody had to stay at home. It would have been very difficult to buy or sell a home unless you were to do it virtually, which I imagine it could be done, but it wouldn't be my preference. When we look at 2020 versus 2019, the real estate taxes are about $320,000 behind in terms of collecting. And this is where we are going to see some of that slowdown actually happening, because I know a lot of people would have tried to get their taxes in before the penalty period. We don't usually collect more than maybe $150,000 through the last 6 months of the year. So the bulk of our real estate taxes are collected by 6/1. They're going to trickle in more throughout the year just because there's no penalty through the balance of the year. But it did pick up from the first quarter. EIT is about $290,000 behind last year, and that's partially because of the filing dates changing, and I'm sure a portion of this is going to be due to earnings fall off. One thing that EIT is based on where you live. So those with high-paying jobs, there's a lot of those in Millcreek. There aren't. It's not like the city. There were some statistics being circulated by one of the governor's branches called the Financial Information Office, and they broke things down to a county level, and they were saying that revenues would be off 4.3% for earned income tax for Erie County. But when you look at where the largest base of population in Erie County is the city, and those are a lot of low-paying jobs, job earners there. I think that statistic's overblown a bit for Millcreek as a whole. I think we've got a higher proportion of better-paying jobs than, say, the city or other locales outside the metropolitan area. Right. When we get into expenses, we're pretty much we're favorable in every category relative to the budget, which part of that's due to healthcare costs, and then also too, when we get into total benefits, the pensions are paid, the MMO payments are made in the third and fourth quarters, so those benefit costs aren't in here yet, but we're still behind, good to the budget. And when we look against 2019, once again, we're still running behind, we're doing better than 2019. So, and Parks and Rec is lower than 2019 by about $82,000. And that's largely due to the fact that the summer programs where they have most of their hiring are barely in existence. We used to hire a lot more people for a much broader summer program, and so they're definitely going to end up the year not spending as much.
Well, Mark, yes, to that point, you know, there was a bit of talk 2 weeks ago about the city's budget impacts related to the pandemic. So are you pretty confident that our savings and expenses is going to cover that kind of shortfall in revenue for the year, or do you anticipate having to make amendments to our budget, dipping into reserves?
I think we're going to be okay, mostly because our budget for EIT is less than what we had last year, and the biggest variable is what was going to happen with healthcare costs. Right now, we have not gotten hit very hard at all. You can see that as you go through the rest of the slides. Where admin's the only one with a negative healthcare cost, and it's only 17.5. And part of that is in the first quarter, as we were paying expenses, we split out healthcare costs to all the various departments. But some of these claims are already in process, and we're paying them. So some of the expenses that should go to other departments are in admin for the first part of the year. Now everything should pretty much have worked its way through, and the ongoing costs are going to be much closer to the true departmental healthcare costs. We're even running favorable on legal. I'm just going to go through these quickly because they're all the same. I mean, we're below budget on health insurance basically, and salaries as well. In sewer revenue, we're pretty much we're actually running a little bit behind on revenue to budget and year to year. Some of that has to be due to the fact that some places weren't working. I mean, it's not so much the restaurants, because I think I don't know how many of those are actually run on a metered system, but some of the manufacturing firms were shut down for a period of time. That has an impact because it's a metered rate based on what your water is. So that's part of the reason that we're running a little bit behind there from last year, and also from budget, because we're expecting a little bit better turnaround. The expenses are close in line, and both operating and admin, and the sewer fund is in good shape. Here's a variety of key expenses, the revenues, the wages. Actually, it's showing that the wages for operating are behind budget, but that's actually the fact that we recorded wages for the first pay in July. They got recorded in June. So it's just a timing thing. It'll work itself out through the next quarter. And we're running a little bit behind on the sewer system improvements because they couldn't construct one because they couldn't do anything in the state until May 1st. And we probably could have gotten an earlier start because we had such great weather this year. But we're behind our spending there. Speaking of capital spending, the general township capital spending is showing a big uncommitted balance, and that's largely because we put all the funds in for the multi-purpose trail in this current year, and the reality is we only needed the design costs, so there's a big reserve as a result of that. You'll see that here coming up shortly when we get to the capital budget amendment in the bids and quotes.
Mark, I can't recall, the capital plan, that 8.5 million, does that include our liquid fuels allocation from the
No.
state, or is that separate?
No, that's separate. Because we can only spend liquid fuels on roads or equipment. Any questions?
No questions? Okay. Thank you, Mark. Okay, next up on our agenda, bids and quotations. Paving change order number 2. Public Works, Gary.
Good evening, gentlemen. We are seeking permission to make payment to Lindy Paving Company for change order number 2 on the 2020 West Side paving schedule. This is an additional 1,000 square yards of pavement and milling for Plaza Drive. The cost of that came out to $13,159 even. It would be my recommendation to pay change order number 2 for the Plaza Drive paving addition.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments from the board on this?
I would like to note that item B is the source of funding for that additional paving. It's coming from the reserve from the multi-use trail. So if you approve the additional paving, the source of the funds is from the engineering reserve.
Okay, Mark.
And just want to clarify, just anyone's question, while we're adding this particular road to the paving plan, we are doing that entire, most of that neighborhood at the Roxbury, Roxbury and Plaza Drive area.
Correct.
This was one small offshoot, an odd little, what would you guys call it? The coffee handle, is that what you guys call
Coffee
it?
cup handle, yeah.
That was not included in the bid, so this isn't kind of a last-minute addition. This is simply an oversight on our part, so.
Okay, very good. Is there a motion to approve paving change order number 2 for Plaza Drive?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second on that?
I'll second.
Mr. Arlett?
How about yes?
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Okay, next up, under bids and quotes, St. Mary's Culvert Rehabilitation Project bid results.
I guess since some people don't want to talk about
Mr. Waldinger decided not to show up tonight.
it. I know, that
so
guy. He thinks he gets
I
vacation
don't know why
time or
he wants to
something.
take vacation
I know,
in the
right?
middle of summer, but he did.
I know,
We'll
that
turn
guy.
it over to Mr. Morgan for this.
Happy to cover for Mr. Waldinger. Gentlemen, on July 23rd, bids were opened for the St. Mary's Culvert Rehabilitation Project. The company submitting bids, Shingle Decker Welding Incorporated with a total bid of $78,000. McLallen Construction with a bid of $53,030. And Ray Showman Jr. Excavating with a bid of $92,308.14. Engineer Ms. Ann Sokol has informed us that McLallen later requested for their bid to be removed, which would leave Shingle Decker as the lowest qualified bidder of $78,000. It is Engineer Ann Sokol's recommendation, as well as our consultant, Engineer Mark Corey, to award this project to Shingle Decker Welding for the amount of $78,000, and that those funds would come from our $125,000 stormwater improvement line item. I would put that in the form of a motion.
And
I
I'll
could-
second.
I'm sorry, if I could, Mr. Chairman, just real quick on the withdrawal of the bid. That was proper, given it was a clerical error on the part of the low bidder. He did notify the township, I think, on the same day in writing as required, and so it was proper that that bid was allowed to be withdrawn. Sorry
Thank
for
you, Mr.
interrupting.
Thank you. Okay. All right, did I hear a second on that?
You did, yes.
Okay. Mr. Arlett?
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
I vote yes. Bids and quotes. Next one is the Zimmerly Road Culvert Rehab Project bid results.
All right, gentlemen, also on July 23rd, 6 bids were received for the Zimmerly Road Culvert Number 1 rehab project. Those bids were from Shingle Decker Welding Incorporated at $57,000, McLallen Construction for $41,470,74, Ray Showman Excavating for $42,520.35, North Rock Construction at $48,323, Blue Rock Construction at $44,818. It's a recommendation of Ann Sokol and Mark Corey to award the contract to McLallen Construction at the bid amount of $41,470.74. That would also come from the remainder of the stormwater improvement line item. I'll put that form of motion to approve.
And I'll second.
Mr. Alette, your vote?
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan, your vote?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. Next up on our agenda, number 8, public hearing on subdivision and land development plans. First one, Joseph, Paul, and Izine K. Cash, a small subdivision plan. Small subdivision plan to show the creation of a 118-foot by 120-foot parcel from tax parcel 33191-619-137 with a residual lot of 120 by 182 feet at the northwest intersection of South Hill Road and Cherry Street Extension in Tract 344, Index 825-026. Matthew Puz.
Good evening. At the regular meeting on July 7, 2020, the Millcreek Township Planning Commission recommended approval of the subdivision with the following comment that the plan be updated to reflect the dimensions of the existing building on the drawing. Should be noted that the surveyor has taken care of that issue and there's no comments at this time.
Okay. Is there anyone in the audience to speak on this small subdivision plan? Okay, sir. You want to?
Okay.
You go to the podium and state your name and address for the record. Is there a
Okay.
sign in there too, Cheryl? He already signed in? Okay.
My name is Joseph Paul Cash, Jr. I am the son and executor of the estate of Joseph Paul Cash, Sr. and Izine K. Cash.
Okay, sir.
What is it that you wish to know?
If you just wish to make any comments
No,
regarding
other
this
than the fact that
plan.
it was good that the planning commission went ahead with it, and I'm just hoping you find it favorable.
Okay.
That's
Any,
it.
any questions or comments for him?
I don't have
Okay.
any now.
No?
Mr. Puz, were there any comments or concerns from the public at the Planning Commission regarding this issue?
No, there were no comments involved.
Okay, since this is a public hearing, we need to open up the phone lines for any public comment on this, or is there anyone else in the audience that would like to comment? Okay. 833-1111, extension 380. We'll open the phone line for any comment on this particular small subdivision plan. Okay. Do I hear a motion to approve this small subdivision plan for Joseph Paul and Izine K. Cash.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Mr. Owlett, your vote?
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan, your vote?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes as well. Next up, we have a small subdivision plan for Rebecca M. and William M. Hilbert Jr. Small subdivision plan to show the replot of two parcels. Parcel A, a .157 acre parcel of land, is to become integral with tax parcel 33190-619-164, creating a 1.713 acre parcel of land. Parcel B, a .351 acre parcel of land, is to become integral with tax parcel 33164-619-414, creating a 1.751 acre parcel of land located on the north line of Kuntz Road, east of Washington Avenue and track 345, index 869-004 and 869-005. Mr. Puz.
At the regular meeting on July 7, 2020, Millcreek Township Planning Commission recommended approval of the subdivision with the following comments: that one, the plan, the update shows the dimensions of the existing buildings on the drawing, and that a modification be granted for the depth width ratio for lot 164 and lot 414. Should be noted that the dimensions have been added to the plans by the surveyor at this time.
Okay. Is there anybody here in the audience to speak on this small subdivision plan? Okay, sir. Go to the podium. State your name and address, please.
My name is Bill Hilbert, 1341 Cedar Ridge Drive. The two properties we're speaking of on Kuntz Road are right behind our home. 1340 Kuntz, we're trying to move the property line a little bit to the east, making a more favorable condition for potential buyer. We also own 1330 Kuntz, which is about 16 and a half acres. So the moving of that line doesn't really affect our property much at all, although it makes the 1340 property a little bit more, I think to a potential buyer, it makes it more attractive. It moves it off the driveway and moves it over about 10 or 15 feet.
Okay, sir. Any questions or comments for Mr. Hilbert?
I don't have any.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Puz, were there any comments of the planning commission regarding?
No,
And Mr. Puz, you referenced that we need to grant a modification if we were to approve this.
yes.
Do you have any concerns about that modification?
No, not at this time. Moving of the lot line, like you said, actually will create a more regular shaped lot.
Okay. All right. We'll give an opportunity for public comment via the phone. If anyone would like to call in and comment regarding this small subdivision plan? Okay, hearing silent phone lines. Is there a motion to approve this small subdivision plan with the modification noted for the depth to width ratio?
I'll make that motion.
And I'll second.
Mr. Owlett, how do you vote on this?
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I could make a statement. For the next item of the agenda, I have submitted disclosure to our Township Secretary Cheryl Williams, disclosing a potential conflict of interest. The applicants, Harold Gay and Gloria J. Morgan, are actually my parents.
Okay.
So I will be abstaining from the discussion and the vote on the next item on the agenda.
Okay, Mr. Morgan. Thank you for that. Next up is a small subdivision plan for Harold K. and Gloria J. Morgan. The small subdivision plan to show the replot of two parcels. Lot 2C, a .083 acre parcel of land, is to become integral with tax parcel 33118-466-40, creating a .215 acre parcel of land. The residue after replot will be a .322 acre parcel of land, being tax parcel 33118-466-41, located on the west line of Niemeyer Road, north of Dumar Road, in tract 343, index 829-005. Mr. Paz.
At the regular meeting on July 7, 2020, the Millcreek Township Planning Commission recommended approval of the subdivision with the following comments that modification for the depth of wind ratio for lot 40 and lot 41 be granted.
Okay. Is there anyone present that would like to speak on this small subdivision plan?
My name is Harold Morgan. I reside at 5354 Niemeyer Road. I'm here seeking approval to subdivide that small portion of land that sits directly behind my neighbor's house. He was interested in expanding his backyard. My neighbor is also present, Mr. Josh Hopkins.
Okay. All right, any questions for the applicant?
I don't have any.
I don't either. Mr. Hopkins, would you like to speak? Anything further? Okay. Okay. We'll take public comment now via our always open phone line. Okay, hearing no further comment, is there a motion to approve this small subdivision plan for Harold and Gloria Morgan?
I'll make that motion.
And I will second that. Mr. Owlett, your vote?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. Okay, next up on our agenda is a land development plan for Premier Surgery Center. A land development plan to show the construction of a 7,425 square foot surgery center with associated parking and stormwater management facilities on parcel 33141-418-34, located on the east line of Village Common Drive, north of the intersection of Zimmerly Road and Interchange Road in tract 348, index number 771-005. Mr. Putz.
At the regular meeting on July 7, 2020, the Millcreek Township Planning Commission recommended approval of the land development plan as submitted.
Mr. Poser, any comments from the public at that meeting?
No.
Okay. Is there anyone present that would be speaking on this?
It wouldn't be a Millcreek Township meeting if Mike Sanford wasn't here.
Good evening, Mike Sanford, 4721 Atlantic Avenue, here on behalf of the applicant. As described, it's a land development plan for a surgery center with the associated parking, stormwater, and landscaping. Just a couple things. The driveway access from this project will be onto Village Common Drive, so onto the circular driveway around the development. No access is proposed from Zimmerly Road. The traffic from the development will utilize the two existing traffic signals that leave the development, one on Interchange or Zimmerly and one on Silk. Both driveways, or the driveways from the development meet the required site distances. Sidewalks already exist along Village Common Drive in the development. There are no sidewalks along Old Zimmerly Road. We do show them on our plan, but we are requesting consideration of deferral of that construction until a time it makes more sense. So that would be something we would request. Project is sewage planning module's already been approved by DEP Meadville. Stormwater calculations were sent to GPI for their review. The parking lot does have all the required landscaping, planting islands, end caps, and whatever's required by the ordinance. We're not aware of any variances or modifications that we're requesting. So I'm here to answer any questions. We look forward to your approval with a deferral of the sidewalks along Old Zimmerly, or Zimmerly.
Thank you, Mr. Stanford. Any questions for Mr. Stanford?
No, sir.
Mr. Stanford, I'm sorry if I missed it. You're looking for just the deferral of sidewalks on Zimmerly. Are sidewalks currently existing on Village Common Drive? Is that?
I couldn't.
Are sidewalks being constructed in Village Common Drives, or they already exist?
They already exist.
Okay.
We are,
I gotta
the
zoom in.
northernmost driveway, we need to remove a piece of the sidewalk, but we
Okay.
will reinstall it in kind.
All right. Sorry about that, thank you.
Okay. If anyone would like to call in and comment on this land development plan, we will take calls right now.
Mr. Shaw, while we're waiting, I cannot recall the sidewalk deferral. Will that be a separate action, or can that be done at the same action as the
I
approval?
think typically there's a sidewalk deferral agreement that gets approved, that then gets signed and recorded, so I think that's a separate action.
Okay, hearing no further comment on this, is there a motion to approve the land development plan for Premier Surgery Center?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Mr. Arlett,
How about yes?
Mr. Morgan,
I vote yes.
and I vote yes. Okay, and now we will take a separate action on the sidewalk deferral for this.
Not
Or-
at this time, not
oh,
until
not
we
at
have
this time?
the actual agreement for
Okay,
approval.
okay, thank you.
Sorry, jumping the gun.
That'll be at another time. Okay, next up is the Dollar Tree Land Development Plan. A land development plan to show the construction of a 9,573 square foot retail business establishment with associated parking, loading spaces, and stormwater management facilities on parcel 3344-229-25, located on the north line of West Ridge Road, west of McKee Road in Tract 309. Index 406-040. Mr. Puz.
At the regular meeting on July 7, 2020, the Millcreek Township Planning Commission recommended approval of the land development plan with the following comments. That the survey was provided a Millcreek index number on the drawing, that the location of the nearest fire hydrants be placed on the drawing, label the sidewalks on the drawing, and provide the parking lot tree as required by the zoning ordinance on the drawing. At this time, all four comments have been addressed by the engineer and surveyor.
Okay. I believe we have the person calling in. Okay. Hello, sir. Good evening. Could you state your name and address for the record, please?
Julio Williams, 100 DeBartolo Place, Suite 400,
Okay, thank you. And you're here to, you're calling in to speak on the Dollar Tree Land Development Plan, correct?
Correct, yeah. I'm here to speak on behalf of the applicant.
Okay, go ahead.
So, we are proposing a 9,753 square foot Dollar Tree, and currently undeveloped parcel. We're proposing new parking, pavement, parking, underground utilities, landscaping, site lighting, and things of that nature. The plan complies with zoning. It meets stormwater requirements, and we believe it will be an improvement to the corridor as it exists. An update on permitting, we have submitted to PennDOT for an HOP permit, and that application is currently under review. We have received a planning exemption from the DEP for sanitary. We are waiting to hear back from the Conservation District. We were notified that the application will be complete. So the application is currently under technical review. That is, and I can answer any other questions as far as what the permitting and application process is concerned. As soon as permits are in hand, we're looking to start construction immediately. I can answer any other questions or any questions that you may have.
Okay, sir, thank you. Any questions? Okay. All right, sir. We're going to open up the phone line here to see if anyone wants to call in and comment on that. So if you could just stay on the line a minute, in case anyone calling in would have a question.
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay, hearing no further comment, is there a motion to approve the land development plan for the Dollar Tree?
That's a, quick question, Mr. Puz.
Yeah.
Do you have any concerns about the plan, Mr. Puz?
No, no,
Were there any comments received at the planning commission meeting?
no.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve the Dollar Tree land development plan.
And I'll second.
Mr. Owlett, your vote?
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. Okay, sir, thank you for your call.
Thank you for accommodating.
Have a good night. Okay, next up on our agenda, Resolution 2020 R45, a resolution pursuant to Resolution 2015 R20 in the Municipal Records Manual to approve proposed disposition of certain township records. This is for MPD dash cam videos between July 29th and August 11th, 2020, due to reaching the end of their retention period. Do I hear a motion to approve this resolution, 2020 R45?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Owlett,
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan,
I vote yes.
and I vote yes. Next up is Resolution 2020 R46, resolution to amend the intermunicipal Millcreek McCain Border Area Sewer Agreement authorized by Ordinance 2019-5. Mr. Shaw?
Yes, I'll actually be covering both this item and the next item on the agenda, the Second Amendment to the actual agreement. When the Millcreek Township Sewer Authority was in existence, it had entered into an agreement with the McCain Sewer Authority and the Township of McCain to extend a short sewer line extension into McCain from the Millcreek Township area along Bargett and Grub Roads. At the time, not all the properties that could physically tie into that extension did so. The authority, as an authority, could do so without PUC involvement under the Municipality Authorities Act. Unfortunately, municipalities, on the other hand, do not have such an exception when systems they own and operate enter into other municipalities, except in limited circumstances. Fortunately for the township, those circumstances would apply to this short sewer line extension, and it would not have to go to the PUC to have the sewer rates it charges for this extension into McCain approved by the PUC. When the township dissolved the sewer authority, a new agreement was entered into between the township and the McCain Authority in 2019, allowing the township to proceed and recognizing that the township fit within that exception. Subsequently, additional properties that did not initially tie into the system have wanted to do so, mainly because their septic systems are failing. In March of this year, we had amended this agreement to allow such a property to attach or to connect. Before the supervisors today is a new request for 7012 Bargain Road. According to the Erie County Department of Health, their septic system is failing. The property owners have approached both the township and McCain to allow them to connect to the township system. It's my understanding that McCain does not object and will agree to the addition to the system. Consequently, before you, you have Resolution 2020 R46, allowing the township to enter into an amendment of the 2019 intermunicipal agreement to add this property to the list of properties that are authorized to connect to this extension, as well as the actual amendment agreement. My recommendation is for you to approve the resolution first, and then proceed to approve the agreement and authorize the chairman to execute it.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Shaw. Any questions or comments from the board on this resolution? Do I hear a motion to approve Resolution 2020 R46?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Mr. Arlett?
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. Do I hear a motion to approve the second amendment to the Millcreek McCain border area sewer agreement?
I move to approve the amendment to the agreement.
I'll second.
Mr. Arlett?
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. Next up, amendment to BIU agreements regarding fire code matters. Mr. Shaw.
Yes, when Caleb Dixon left the township's employ, the township was left without a fire code official internally who could review the building plans and conduct fire inspections as he had. Although there is a plan to have new employees get certified to conduct such services, in the interim we have made arrangements with building inspection underwriters to amend our current agreements with them on the plan review and inspection side to enable the township to rely on BIU for these services till the township is able to do so again internally. BIU has already signed this amended agreement, and I would recommend approval. With respect to the plan reviews, they're just folding it into their existing plan reviews at no additional cost. With respect to the inspections, they would be charging the same rates they would otherwise be charging for similar types of inspections when they inspect for fire code issues.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the board on this amendment?
I'll make a motion to approve the BIU agreement, amendment to the BIU agreement.
I'll second.
Mr. Arlett, your vote?
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. Next up, agreement with Fast Attack Fire Services and Training. Mr. Shaw.
Yes, as part of the vision that was adopted by the supervisors for the future of emergency services in the township, one of the items recognized that was needed to be completed was determining the appropriate level of emergency services within Millcreek Township. The Fire Commission, through its Subcommittee on Operations, obtained recommendations from Jerry Ozog, who was the Executive Director of the Pennsylvania Fire and Emergency Services Institute, and who assisted the township during this process. Based on those recommendations, the subcommittee determined that Chief Nick Sohaida would be the consultant to use to assist the township in determining the appropriate level of emergency services within the township. Once the appropriate level of service is determined, then the balance of the pieces can fall into place for consolidating emergency services in Millcreek under one entity as recommended by the vision. Before you is a proposed agreement for professional services with Fast Attack Fire Service Training and Consulting, which is a company owned by Chief Nick Sohaida, who was recommended, as I indicated, by Jerry Ozog and the subcommittee. Chief Sohaida is the fire chief of the Mount Lebanon Fire Department near Pittsburgh. He has served in numerous leadership roles in both volunteer and career fire service organizations throughout his 35-year fire service career. He holds various degrees from various universities and colleges relating to fire service and fire service management and administration. He's also currently represents the International Association of Fire Chiefs as the chairperson on the National Fire Protection Association 1720 standard that identifies the standards for organizations and deployment of fire suppression and special operations to the public by volunteer fire departments. So he's very well qualified, we believe, to handle this assignment. Under the agreement, Chief will develop a standards of coverage document that would include a deployment analysis. The standards of coverage in the emergency services world relates to the length of time a specified number of emergency responders will arrive at the scene with specified equipment for a specific risk scenario. So, for example, when you look at the recently issued Senate Resolution 6 report, a standard of coverage example provided was that for a level service 2, it would be a response of 10 personnel with a pumper within 10 minutes of dispatch 80% of the time. So it's those types of standards that he would be evaluating and determining and recommending to the township what it should adopt for its standards moving forward. The deployment analysis would include determining the distribution and concentration of fixed and mobile resources of the township's emergency services. Under this agreement, Fast Attack is charging $75 an hour with a not to exceed amount of $5,000. He is to complete his work no later than January 31 of 2021. He has reviewed and has signed what is typically our standard consultant agreement. It's recommended that you approve this agreement, and then assuming that you do approve, Chief will need access to certain various sources of information, including information from the county, and to the extent such requests must come from the township, I would recommend that you also authorize the chair of the Board of Supervisors to sign any such letters or requests needed to assist Chief obtain the information necessary for his work.
Thank you, sir. Any questions or comments from the board regarding this agreement?
I just have a comment. I was able to be part of the committee to select Chief Sohaida, and you know, he's very well qualified, and I think he'll do an excellent job for us.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ouellette. Okay, do I hear a motion to approve the agreement with Fast Attack Fire Services and Training not to exceed $5,000, and also authorizing the chairman to sign any related documents associated with that?
I'll make that motion.
Okay,
I'll second.
Mr. Ouellette, your vote?
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. Okay, next up, communications. Treasurer communications?
I have nothing further at this time.
Okay. Okay, we have, I have a hiring request for code enforcement officer.
I'll cover that,
from
Mr. Chairman.
admin. Okay.
Our Director of Planning and Development, Matthew Walding, along with our HR manager, Diane Lyons, have submitted the request to approve the hire of Anthony DiMaggio as a affiliate code enforcement officer vacancy at a rate of a salary of $45,000 a year with a start date of August 3rd, 2020. Mr. DiMaggio comes to us with 9 years experience in code enforcement from the city of Erie, and he's also a volunteer firefighter for the Kearsarge Fire Department. I would make a motion to approve that hire.
Okay,
And I'll second.
okay, thank you. Mr. Owlett?
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes as well.
Mr. Chairman, Ms. Lyons has also notified the board that she anticipates a vacancy in our Streets Maintenance Bureau. We have a laborer who will be retiring on September 30th, 2020. Ms. Lyons requests authorization from the board to commence with hiring procedures to fill that position, to maintain our complement in the Streets Maintenance Bureau.
Okay.
I make a motion to approve that request.
I'll second.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote
Your
yes.
vote? Mr. Owlett?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. Okay, next up, I have a, looks like it's from Cheryl Williams and Judy for the notary public reappointment. You want to handle that, John?
Yes, Ms. Williams and Ms. Alina are notary publics for the township. They've been looking into being recertified, which we do cover. And the request is to authorize them to utilize an online education option for recertification. The total cost for both Ms. Alina and Ms. Williams would be $688.70 to participate in those online trainings for the recertification.
Okay.
And I make a motion to approve the request.
And I will second that.
Okay. Mr. Owlett?
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. Okay. We have several training requests from Chief Scott Height from our police department. The first training request, Chief is seeking approval for Lieutenant Scott Sebulak to attend the FBI Great Lakes Leadership Seminar in Niagara Falls, New York, October 4th through the 9th. Travel by department vehicle. There are no registration fees for this seminar. There is a cost of lodging for 5 nights, per diem, fuel and tolls, for a total of $877 for this seminar. This is a budgeted, it's in the travel or travel expense portion of the budget for the police department. I'll make a motion for approval on this request.
I'll second.
Mr. Owlett?
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. Next request is for approval for 2 officers to attend the National Tactical Officer Association SWAT Team Leader Training in Abington, PA, from October 12th through October 16th. Travel again is by department vehicle. Registration, $1,500. Lodging, $762. Per diem, $858. Fuel and tolls, $200. Again, coming out of the training expense budget and the travel expense budget. I'll make a motion for that training request as well.
I'll second.
Mr. Owlett, your vote?
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. Next up, approval is requested for 2 officers to attend Pepperball Instructor Armor Training in Paynesville, Ohio on October 8th and October 9th. Travel will be by department vehicle. Estimated costs are as follows. Training registration, $395. Lodging, $108. Per diem, $224. Fuel and tolls, $20. As you know, we approved the purchase of certain less than lethal items, I think last month, maybe the month prior. So this is going along with that. So our, due to the fact some of those purchases were new, This is for the requested officers to receive instruction and also armor training, which is the maintenance and the upkeep of the items that are used. I will put that in the form of a motion as well.
I'll second.
Mr. Arlett, your vote?
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan, your vote?
How about yes?
And I vote yes. Okay, we have one more request here from Chief Scott Height. Approval is requested for Detective Brian Mays to attend the International Association of Bomb Technicians and Investigators Regional In-Service Training Class to be held in Long Branch, New Jersey, October 19th through October 23rd. Travel by department vehicle. Estimated cost, $350 for the registration. Lodging, $806.20. Per diem, $346. Fuel and tolls, $150. Coming out of the training and travel expense budget. Please. It is expected that the Northwest Pennsylvania Emergency Response Group Task Force will reimburse the $1,156.20 registration and lodging costs. One reason these requests are coming in several months early is because these classes do fill up pretty quickly. People are coming from all over, so that's why Chief wants to get these in ahead of time. I'll put that in the form of a motion as well.
I'll second.
Mr. Arlett, your vote?
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan, your vote?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes as well. Okay. Chief's been very busy this week. He is requesting authorization for the Westridge Fire Department Fire Police to conduct traffic control at the Westminster Church on July 28th, August 11th, and August 25th. 3 fire police officers are needed to assist with the vehicle traffic at the food distribution site. This request comes from Chief DeRosa from Westridge Fire Department to our chief, now requesting our approval for the fire police to conduct traffic control there. I'll make a motion on that request.
And I'll second.
Mr. Arlett?
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes as well. Okay, next up is the Ikado picnic. The annual picnic of Ikado is scheduled Thursday, August 27th at Picnicana Park in Summit Township. Cost is $15 per person. It's been past tradition to invite former township supervisors to this event, of which there are 6 that would be invited, as well as the board. So we're just seeking approval for, I believe then, up to 9 attendees. Does that sound right? Is there anyone else that's normally attends that? Okay. So we don't have an exact count yet, I believe, right, of who may attend. But in the past, we have extended the invitation to the former supervisors. So approval of up to 9 attendees, between 0 and 9, or 1 and 9. I'm attending this. I'll make a motion for that.
I'll second.
Attendance. Thank you, Dan. Mr. Arlett, your vote?
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan, your vote?
I vote yes. I hope you have a great time.
And I vote yes as well. Okay.
You gotta share your door prizes with the rest of us tonight.
Okay. We had executive sessions on July 16th and 23rd of 2020 to discuss various issues here. Next, we have a recycling department announcement from, it's come from Jesse or Judy. Dan, you want to handle this one?
Sure.
Okay.
We had a tire collection and paper shred event scheduled for Saturday, August 15th of this year, but it's been canceled due to COVID-19 restrictions for large recycling collection events. Tires can be disposed of at any retail tire dealer. There is a nominal disposal fee that may apply. And the recycling department is looking forward to hosting its next special collection event on Saturday, May 15th, 2021. And that's all I have from the recycling department.
Okay, thank you, sir. Solicitor Communications, anything further, Mark?
Nothing further, thank you.
Okay. Citizens to be heard. Any citizens in the audience wishing to be heard tonight? Okay. We'll have the phone line open for any citizens to be heard. They can call in. 833-1111. The extension is 380 for anyone who would like to call in and have their voice heard this evening. Phones are working. Okay, hearing no phone-in calls tonight. Is there a motion to adjourn our July 28th, 2020 meeting?
So moved.
Okay,
I'll second.
we are adjourned at 8:07 p.m.